This is the second video on how to make Joshua booties. If you haven't watched the first one yet, go back and watch that one. This one's going to give a lot more detail. I already showed you that you're going to have the cutout pattern. You're going to sew with right sides together that part of the booty. And then we're going to go from there. At this point, you need the right sides out, since this is going to be the part that's going to face out on the booty. You're going to have your needle threaded with crochet cotton, just a little bit thicker than regular thread. You're just going to make a knot at the end of that thread. And then in the seam of that booty, you're going to insert your needle from the back to the front and then pull it all the way through. And when you reach that knot, it's going to hold that in place. Don't have to pull real hard. And then you're going to start with the back of the booty, kind of match that up. There might be some difference in size, so you might need to make some adjustments as you go along. But here's where you're going to start doing the stitches. You're going to go match up the fabric, and then starting at the back, you want to have it in far enough so that you're securing both parts of the fabric. So I might need to move that over a little bit. And you want to have maybe an 1/8 to 1/4 inch space between there, and start pulling that through. The one thing you need to make sure you do is that this has to go through the loop of here. So I want to pull it through there. Oops, I'm sorry, I want to pull it through there. If I do that right, then that is going to start making this stitch here. So I'll again go through the back. You can see I've gone it about 1/4 inch over. Gotta start pulling it through. Make sure that I'm going through the loop. Once I do that, I'm starting, you can see that the stitch taking place there. And one more I'll show you. Start pulling it through. Again, make sure, sometimes it's gonna get stuck. It takes a while to get the hang of this. And when you pull it through, you can see as you're going along, it's gonna start securing the front and the back together. And you wanna make sure that the front stays at the front, so you can see this a little bit bigger. So you might have to kind of make some adjustments and double that top part over a little bit and kind of account for that extra largeness in the front. You may have to adjust and adjust the size of your bottom a little bit. So this takes a little while to get the hang of doing this, but that's how you start the stitch. Now this one has been where we've gone all the way around, and we're just about to the back part of it. I'm going to show you how to finish this off. So again, I already have this threaded and ready to go. So I'm going to continue on what I was doing before. I'm going to go in that final seam, go pull it through, and I've made my final stitch over. At that point, I'm going to insert the needle into the inside. Oops, I'm going to make sure I'm not getting the outside. Inside, and I'm going to show you the inside of the booty. I want to take it up into the seam to secure it a little bit. And then I'll go ahead and pull it through. And at that point, I'm going to just kind of put my needle through here, make a knot, and then slide that knot all the way down to the end. Sometimes you can do it by putting your needle in there. And I'm just ending up with a knot like what I started with at the beginning. In fact, I don't think I did that one very well. Let me do it one more time. I'm getting a knot. And so that will secure that in there, and later I can snip that. So the booty from start to finish is done. This is my first try at it, so I might have to go back and try that again. I might have made a little mistake there. When you're done, this is what it's going to look like completely. You can see there's enough room in here between the stitches, but there's no openings in there. It's very secure and everything. At that point, you're going to start doing the top of the booty, and this is just a decorative stitch. You start it the same way by making a knot in the thread, and then I inserted it through there. Then I'll pull it through to secure that. At this point, I'll do the same thing. I'll go in the back, and I'll start pulling it through. And again, I want to make sure that I take it through the loop. Once I do that, you can see the same stitches happening again. I'll go through. Took it through there. I'm getting the hang of making these myself. Start pulling it through, and see it's kind of sticking to that part there. Again, I want to make sure I'm going through the loop. As long as I'm doing that, I'm getting that decorative stitch. Now on the top part, it's not as important that you have everything even because it's not securing anything. It's just kind of making a decorative, finishing it off on the top. Once you've gotten to this point of the booty where you've gotten to the front end, you're going to insert your needle in here and then kind of out toward that front part because we have that little flap there. Going to pull that through, and this is just kind of a little decorative thing. We're going to pull the yarn or thread over there, and then I'm going to bring it out to about where I'm going to start the stitch on the other side. So all we do is just have this little part there that's coming across. From there, you'll continue on and you'll go all the way to the back. And at this point, you'll finish this off the same way you finished off the bottom by inserting it in there, getting it inside in that seam, tying a knot, and then eventually we'll trim that off and everything. At this point, the booty is completely finished as far as the stitching part. It's very important at this point that you wash the booty. You need to wash it before you put the ribbon in. If you wash it after you put the ribbon in, it will get tangled in the wash and you will have a big mess and everything. At this point, you will you're going to thread a 1/8 inch ribbon. This is about 24 inches long. The very first thing you're going to do is tie a knot in the end just to have it, and it doesn't matter if there can be a little bit extra there, that's just to secure it in here. And you'll start from the front and you're just going to put your needle in there, and you can kind of see on this one here what we've did. All we're doing is making it so we can tie it. So I'm going to put it in and then take it out about there. I'll pull the ribbon through. This is a little bit thicker, so sometimes you might have to poke a little hole in there to get it. And I'm gonna leave about that much sticking out because that's gonna be the part we're gonna tie. Then I'll go in near the back of the booty. I don't wanna go in at the seam. And then I'll come out about the same width on the other side. And at that point, I'm gonna make one more in and out, and I wanna end at the front of the booty like I started. And then at that point, you're going to even off these. You will tie a knot in this one also. And your finished product will look like this. You will make sure you have the knots there. You want to trim those a little bit. And at this point, you'll have both your booties that will already be washed. All you need to do is just put them one inside the other, and then they are ready to go. And that is going to how you make the Joshua booties.